that I hope. Morning, thanks for coming and responding quickly to our invitation. As a show of our appreciation, recognizing the heat, we hope you'll make good use of the bottle of water that we'll give you free, if you have not yet already got it. Okay? I thought it best to have the press conference because last week I was on leave, and despite that there were several requests for special interviews and so on, which is going to take a lot of my time. We have a small staff, so I think by us being together we'll be able to get some information and share it. And you learn from me, I learn from you. Some of you I'm seeing for the first time, some of you I'm seeing too much of. Thank you. As our opening statement, if you can call it that, you have received the news release. There is some information on it. Whatever, you have not received it? Okay. Whatever additional things you need to know, you can ask about it. Essentially, I took the oath of office as Ombudsman last Thursday. I was given the instruments of appointment by the Governor General 2 weeks before that. And even though I was going to be the new Ombudsman, I could not assume the office until I was sworn in. So that is why it's only on Thursday that the news release came out. I have been here for the past year. It was to have been a temporary measure. I expected it to last 3 months. It stretched on to 1 year. And now things have changed considerably. It is no longer a temporary situation. I am the new Ombudsman. So you can base your questions on that. I hope and I pray that you did some. I retired as Clerk of Parliament last year, June. I assumed the position of Acting Ombudsman July 10th last year. I spent 39 years in the public service, from a school teacher to Clerk of Parliament. My longest stint was at the Customs Department. I spent 23 years there, 12 years as Deputy Controller. Things I have done over the years, my training and qualification has to do, I particularly first like to mention that I'm a trainer. Maybe because teaching is my background, so I have trained customs officers in the region. I have done some training with the Caribbean Tourism Organization in customer service and training teachers to deliver tourism studies at schools. I did some training in public relations in Australia. I passed through UWI Public Administration program. That is enough. So I have little bits and pieces of everything. I have little bits and pieces of knowledge here and there, which, as a wise man says, amounts to knowing a lot of nothing. You know? But so that is it. And I open the floor for questions.
Feel free. Why you came? Morning, Mr. Donald. Since taking the office, taking up the post as the active, and now you're permanent, what has been the most challenging thing facing you so far? In terms of organizational structure to actually people receiving reports?
The most challenging was developing an approach to deal with the ministries, departments, and statutory bodies so that the exchange would not be confrontational, and an approach which would lead to quickly solving complaints lodged by members of the public. I was a public officer, so I'm fully aware of the constraints faced. Basically, the public service does not have a complaint solving mechanism. So a complaint comes to a permanent secretary, a head of department, and sometimes it's attended to, sometimes it is not attended to. Sometimes it is cast aside, sometimes that complaint is lost, and the complainant feels aggrieved and angered. So that was the biggest challenge. Developing an approach to deal with the personalities involved in solving the problems.
A report from the former Ombudsman indicated that a lot of challenge some ministries, and I can remember clearly he did say that some of them figured he had the right to be questioning them. Is that the same challenge that you faced with senior public officers who you will have to speak to during your course of investigating complaints?
The public service is a very difficult place. And over the years, there have been rotations at a senior level. In some cases, top managers, middle managers have been moved at the same time, and the transition was not always smooth. So sometimes there were frustrations, and the information that one senior person should have had to carry out the work, that information was not readily available. But I think we have moved past that stage. The office has visited on a personal basis with several permanent secretaries. We still have some work to do because there are still some movements taking place. And I hope within the next 2 weeks, the permanent secretaries who have taken up positions within the last 2 months, I'll have a chance to talk to them and at a personal level and determine where we go.
My final question now. There is a view there, some of us who probably have been acquainted with that the public in general is not fully aware as what is the role of the office of the ombudsman. What mechanism you intend putting in place to one, educate the public more about your work as well as what is required of your office?
Yes, I'm glad you asked that because one of the first things we had this morning was a briefing with staff, and we are looking at several approaches. Not only public outreach programs, but we intend within quick order and hopefully by the end of the year, early next year, to have visits to the old parishes. We want to pay some attention to areas and parishes that have been kind of left out, and we hope to be an itinerant visitor to Karakou often. At major festivals, activities, you are going to see a booth manned by somebody from the office. And there'll be someone to answer questions, pamphlets and leaflets, booklets and so on, videos, that kind of a thing. We are going to redo our PowerPoint presentation so that it is more up to date and more in line with the requirements of communities outside there. So those are the things we are going to get into, and I hope this activity is going to help us in that regard. Certainly, I did not see, but what happened on Thursday night on GBN played a great part in promoting the office of the Ombudsman. Although GBN said I'm 39 years old, thank you very much. I think I look 39 and feel 39, you know? Thank you, GBN. But seriously, we have to be outside there. And at the same time, when we're outside there are going to be more complaints. So we have an approach for attending to the additional complaints which we are going to get. Our budget allows us to hire an additional, what I want to call an additional complaints officer, and that person, I have already had some preliminary discussions. I hope that person can be hired by early October. But the office is going to be a joined-up office. There's not going to be any specialists. Nobody's going to specialize in investigation. You have an officer who does investigation, and he also does the IT. Hopefully, the person who's going to come in as a complaints officer will also assist with the administration. I can do several things besides managing the office. So it is going to be a joined-up office. It's going to be flexible. And our structure has to change and evolve according to the demands of the public.
Going back to, good morning, Sophia Philippe, we have the Radio News Department. Going back to the first question, when you spoke about the challenge of developing a method of solving complaints, that method has been tested, I would want to know how is it successful? Is it working for the office?
Apart from the office of let's leave the office of the Ombudsman behind for a while. When a member of the public encounters a problem with any ministry or department, there are several things that can be done or is done. You blow your steam, you call the radio station, you cuss, you rant and rave. Or you go to the permanent secretary and you knock on the door and say, well, I want my thing done now. These things are not effective all the time, right? We have developed personal relationships, not only with the heads of departments and permanent secretaries, but at officers at the lower level, so that when a complaint is received, the first response is not to write a letter. The first response is to verify that complaint, talk to an officer concerned, get some background information, and then we take it from there. If the complaint cannot be solved that way, then we resort to formal correspondence. And we have not had to resort to formal correspondence most of the time. Okay?
If I could ask, sir, how would you rate your performance over the past year in this capacity?
I would say less than 50% because I was temporary, I was uncertain, there were some things I wanted to do, and I felt that should have been done to somebody who would have been in the post in a more permanent way. So I was hesitant. So I won't give myself a pass mark.
I know that you're permanent. What are your immediate objectives?
To immediately almost hire one staff, right? Do some aggressive publicity, right? Continue meeting with heads of departments and ministries who we have not met with. Those are the priority areas. There are some complaints outstanding, and when the report comes out and is laid in Parliament, you'll see some matters that will hurt your belly, from things that seemingly could have been solved easily and have not been solved, and we have made them known in writing. So possibly when the report is laid, we can come together like this again and tear the report apart and question it and clarify things that are not too clear.
How soon is that report expected to be laid in Parliament?
I don't know. Parliament usually, in the past, went into recess in August. I don't think Parliament is in recess. I don't know if Parliament is going to go into recess, or if it's going to be a long recess or a short recess. Do you know? There is talk that the budget is going to be ready in September. Do you know? I don't know. I don't know. But once the report is printed, we send the report to the Speaker of the House, the President of the Senate, and the Governor General. And sufficient copies are sent to the Parliament to be laid in Parliament. And once it's laid in Parliament, both houses, then it's a public document and we can talk about it.
From the time you took your office from acting to now permanent, which government ministry has had the most amount of complaints against to the best of your recollection?
I wouldn't say a government ministry, I'll say other entity. Other entity meaning entities that you cannot compartmentalize. Entities sometimes that you have no jurisdiction over, but we take their complaints anyway and we record it. But I think I can say that one department that stands out, I can say that definitely, is that environmental department in the Ministry of Health, headed by Andrew Om. They're on the ball, they're quick, responsive, and they're professional.
So they have aided quickly in solving complaints against them?
Yeah.
And that means there is also a lot of complaints against them?
Complaints that concern matters related to environmental health, which they knew of or did not know of, but when the information came to them, they dealt with it properly and speedily.
So has this position revealed to you any concerns within the know about that you would label as a matter of concern or a red flag?
Listen to me. In 1996, the Public Service started a process of reform and improvement. I was part of that thing. Performance appraisals, you prepare reports and management assessments and so on. It has gone on for a long time and it seems not to have made much progress, despite the fact that there are lots of public servants who are highly qualified. I am pretty concerned, know that I'm pretty concerned about matters related to lands in Grenada. Not just government lands, lands as a whole. And information that is coming to us seems to indicate that people are being deprived of their lands. Lands are, some Grenadians find lands that they should be owned is no longer there. Pieces of the lands are missing. I have a concern about the land, about lands, public lands, private lands, and the characters involved in getting those things together. The Inland Revenue Department, the Court Registry, the surveyors, the Lands and Services Department, and the Ministry of Agriculture. I have a serious concern about lands. I think it's an explosion waiting to happen.
And that is a result of complaints that come to you about persons?
Complaints that come, information that come, matters that are beyond jurisdiction, but information that comes to the office. And I say this, some of the information that came early, you could not verify, but if you have an avalanche of information, then you have a problem. There's a problem with lands in Grenada.
What can be done to make the job of the Ombudsman a little bit easier?
More money, not for the Ombudsman, more resources. But I should say, when you compare our office to offices in the Caribbean, we have done pretty well, you know. There are offices where it's a one-man band. No secretary, just one person. Since the office was established, and I was intimately involved in the office being established from when I was in Parliament, there was only one occasion when the budget that was submitted by the office was requested to be reduced. One occasion. So the resources are limited, but once you know what you have, what you're going to spend, you can deal with it. It would be nice if we have some additional accommodation. So if you have influence, my dear, push a word for us.
Just answer about the lands issues. Some issues you said were out of your jurisdiction, but what can you do with this information in order to start the process of getting relief for some of these?
Okay, well, if an individual comes to the office with a matter of land between two persons, right? It's not a matter for the office. Every complaint that comes, we record it. A complaint about land comes in, we take a note of it. And as a matter of course, you cross-reference the information you have. And if you see a lot of information like of that sort coming in, and when you try to get information from the Department of Lands, you know, the response is sometimes slow and not what you expect. Then you say, well, no, something is not too right. What can be good is if down the line, because the law gives provisions for that, for an investigation to be carried out, that will be pretty expensive. But if somehow there can be an investigation concerning the matter of lands in Grenada, it will be helpful. Either done by the Ombudsman Office, in conjunction with the Ombudsman Office, contracted by the Ombudsman Office, or in association with the government of Grenada. Something has to be done about lands, my dear.
Okay. Do we still see complaints of persons in government ministries not answering the phone? I know that was highlighted as one of the complaints in reports gone by.
I have not got that since I came here. Maybe they are. Let me say this, we Grenadians have to get into the habit of not taking things for granted, Folks who have lived abroad and are accustomed to redress, when something goes wrong, they air it, either they write a letter or they call the radio station. Even myself, I ever got some bad work on my house and I suck my teeth and you move forward. But we should not become that complacent. When something wrong happens, some authoritative figure should know. And there should be some kind of corrective measure, So I hope down the line, the work of the office would assist our people in seeking redress, understanding the importance of redress, not only for themselves, but the redress as important for the country, and helping the ministries and departments to do the work better. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoy the water. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Marlon, can you just pass on the water? Because it's hot outside. You, madam, calling me. Are you seeing back?
Yeah,
I tried to call you last Saturday.
No. I didn't say that time.
You see that number? 1262? 1252?
125.
When you call it, it's only ringing. I called it back Saturday.
Oh, Saturday we did recording.
And also Thursday, when I got home, after the showing, my brother and brother we went to dinner. And afterwards, when I got home, I fell asleep and I woke up 1 o'clock from 5 to 1. Wow. I don't know why you calling me for. Who put out that news? I didn't say 9:35 minutes. You?
No.
Somebody told me TV and say that I was 35 years old.
No. No, all we usually is from the
Maybe 10 here.
no, but the 35 years old. 35 years.
Yeah. Somebody told me the way it came out that it sounded like if I was 39 years old.
Well,
Yeah, give me my age.
Since you just the first part of the
You mean you didn't resend it?
They're bad.
You didn't resend it?
They're
I
bad.
will tell you if I did not
I'm telling you. How much staff you have there?
We have 3, but you're getting 1. We have a location for
How much is the budget? What's the budget? 600,000?